Imagine this. Everything you thought you knew about what men truly desire is suddenly flipped on its head. What if the secret isn't about looks, status, or even the surface-level ideas we're so often told? Today, we're diving deep into a world of revelations that will challenge everything you thought you understood about relationships and desires. Stay with me until the end, because the final insight will completely shift your perspective. It's the most important one of all. Before we dive in, make sure you subscribe to Red Pill Feminina, hit the like button, and share this video with anyone who needs to hear the truth about relationships. Trust me, what you're about to learn could redefine how you see human connection and yourself. Now let's get started. The question, what do men really want, has sparked endless debates, driven millions of conversations, and sold countless books and seminars. But most of these discussions barely scratch the surface. Instead of focusing on stereotypes or mainstream narratives, we'll take a critical, red pill-inspired look at the dynamics of desire, relationships, and emotional connection. Men's desires aren't monolithic. Despite what many think, it's not just about physical attraction or superficial traits. In fact, research shows that men are often searching for qualities that many overlook, qualities rooted in emotional intelligence, mutual respect, and understanding. The traditional view paints a simple picture. Men want submission, loyalty, or someone who can cater to their needs. But this misses a deeper layer. Take, for instance, the groundbreaking analysis of Dr. Warren Farrell in his book, The Myth of Male Power, particularly in Chapter 6, where he explores how societal expectations force men into narrow definitions of masculinity. Farrell argues that men often feel pressured to prioritize achievement and financial success over their emotional well-being. When they seek partners, they aren't just looking for validation. They're searching for someone who understands the weight they carry. Think about it. How often do we talk about men's vulnerabilities? How often do we acknowledge that they too crave emotional safety? This is where the red pill critique comes into play. Traditional red pill ideology often emphasizes male dominance and frames relationships as transactional. But let's step back and question this narrative. Are men truly driven by the need to control, or is it a reaction to a deeper insecurity? A fear of being rejected or not measuring up? Consider the insights of Esther Perel, author of Mating in Captivity. She challenges the conventional understanding of desire, arguing that men, like women, seek connection and passion that feels authentic and meaningful. Perel highlights the importance of emotional depth in Chapter 3, where she notes that intimacy is often misinterpreted as dependency. This rings especially true for men who, due to societal conditioning, struggle to express their emotional needs openly. Here's where it gets interesting. When men express frustration or seem withdrawn, it's often a cry for understanding, a silent plea for someone to see them for who they truly are, not just what they can provide. If you've watched this far, let me ask you, what assumptions have you held about men's desires? Share your thoughts in the comments below. To truly grasp what men want, we need to dismantle the myths that cloud our understanding. And in the next part, we'll explore how societal expectations and media portrayals have shaped and often distorted the image of the ideal man and his needs. You'll be surprised at how much of it is rooted in miscommunication and false assumptions. If this has already made you rethink your perspective, don't forget to like and share this video with others. Let's challenge these outdated ideas together. Let's continue unpacking the hidden truths about what men truly desire, stepping deeper into the complexities of societal expectations and personal needs. Now, think about the countless portrayals of men in movies, television, and social media. They're often shown as stoic providers, emotionally unavailable, or hyper-focused on physical attraction. These depictions feed into a dangerous oversimplification that men are either ruled by primal instincts or entirely indifferent to emotional depth. But the reality is far more nuanced. One of the most critical ideas here is the concept of emotional suppression. In No More Mr. Nice Guy by Dr. Robert Glover, the author delves into how many men are conditioned from a young age to suppress their emotions. Chapter 2 of his book highlights that men are often taught to equate vulnerability with weakness. This conditioning creates a barrier, making it difficult for men to express their true desires, especially in relationships. So what does this mean for their needs in a partner? Contrary to common belief, men aren't just looking for someone to stroke their ego or fulfill a checklist of external traits. They seek a partner who allows them to be fully seen, someone who offers both support and challenges their growth. This ties into an essential truth. Men want respect, but not in the superficial way it's often portrayed. Respect for them is about recognizing their efforts, understanding their struggles, and valuing their authenticity. This leads us to a crucial point: communication. Many men, due to societal expectations, find it challenging to articulate their emotional needs. They might not say outright that they want empathy, patience, or encouragement, but these are often at the core of their desires. In her book, The Dance of Connection, Dr. Harriet Lerner explores how men and women approach communication differently. Lerner points out in Chapter 4 that men are frequently socialized to prioritize action over expression. They show love and desire through what they do, not always through what they say. Understanding this dynamic can transform the way we view their needs. Let me ask you this: how often do you try to read between the lines in your interactions? How often do you consider what someone's actions might be saying that their words cannot? Share your experiences in the comments. Here's an example to illustrate this. Imagine a man who works long hours, consistently providing for his family. Society might label this as fulfilling his duty, but what if it's his way of showing love and commitment? What if, behind those actions, there's an unspoken hope for acknowledgement and appreciation? This is where the red pill critique becomes especially relevant. Traditional red pill ideology often frames men's needs as transactional: give loyalty, receive provision. But this ignores the emotional complexity behind those transactions. Men don't just want a partner who completes tasks. They want someone who values the intention behind those actions. Let's take this a step further. In his book, The Way of the Superior Man, David Deida emphasizes the importance of purpose in a man's life. Chapter 8 discusses how men often tie their sense of self-worth to their ability to pursue a mission or goal. For many, having a partner who supports, rather than distracts from, this purpose is essential. But here's the catch. They don't want blind support. They crave a connection with someone who challenges them to grow, to expand their understanding of themselves and the world. This duality, needing both support and challenge, is one of the most misunderstood aspects of men's desires. It's why relationships rooted in authenticity and emotional intelligence thrive, while those built on superficial expectations often crumble. If you've stayed with me this far, it's clear you're invested in uncovering the deeper truths about relationships. Drop a comment below with your thoughts or questions. I'd love to hear how this resonates with you. In the next part, we'll explore the impact of societal pressure on men's emotional health and how this shapes their relationships. We'll also dive into the role of masculinity and how redefining it can lead to healthier connections. Trust me, this next insight will surprise you. Let's dive even deeper into this complex subject and uncover how societal pressures shape men's emotional lives and, ultimately, their desires in relationships. Throughout history, men have been expected to embody a particular version of masculinity: strong, resilient, and unwavering. While these traits can be admirable, they've also created a double-edged sword. Men are often celebrated for their strength, but penalized for expressing vulnerability, leaving them caught in an emotional bind. This conflict is eloquently explored in Man Enough by Justin Baldoni, particularly in Chapter 7, where he discusses the mask of masculinity. Baldoni highlights how men are socialized to suppress emotions like sadness, fear, and even love, believing these feelings undermine their identity. As a result, many men struggle to connect authentically, not because they don't want to, but because they've been taught it's unsafe to do so. Here's the irony. Men often desire connection, but they've been conditioned to pursue it in ways that seem contradictory. For example, they might focus on providing financially or achieving status, believing this will earn them love and validation, but underneath there's a deeper longing for emotional intimacy, trust, and mutual understanding. This brings us to the question: how can women navigate these complexities to foster genuine connection? The answer lies in redefining what strength and masculinity mean. In her book, The Will to Change: Men, Masculinity, and Love, Bell Hooks makes a powerful argument in Chapter 3. Men must be allowed to reclaim their right to love and be loved without fear of judgment. She emphasizes that relationships thrive when both partners feel free to express their full emotional range. Think about this. How often do we encourage men to open up, only to dismiss their emotions when they do? Society has created a paradox where men are told to be real, but are mocked for showing their softer sides. This inconsistency is why so many men retreat into emotional silence. If we want healthier relationships, we need to challenge these cultural norms. It starts with creating spaces where men feel safe to express their fears, hopes, and desires without fear of ridicule. This doesn't mean coddling or excusing harmful behavior. It means fostering a sense of mutual respect and accountability. Here's a practical example. Instead of asking your partner, "What's wrong?" when he seems distant, try asking, "What's been on your mind lately?" This small shift invites openness without pressuring him to label his feelings as wrong. Now, let's address another key factor: the role of media and popular culture in shaping men's self-perception. From superhero movies to advertisements, men are bombarded with messages that equate worth with dominance, power, and success. These narratives can leave men feeling inadequate if they don't measure up to these impossible standards. In The Mask You Live In, a documentary by Jennifer Siebel Newsom, this theme is explored in depth. It reveals how young boys are taught to conform to rigid definitions of masculinity, creating emotional walls that often persist into adulthood. If men grow up believing their value lies solely in what they do, rather than who they are, how can they form authentic connections? Let me ask you, have you ever witnessed someone you care about struggle with these pressures? How did it affect your relationship? Share your insights in the comments. I'd love to hear your perspective. At this point, you might be wondering, how does this all tie back to what men truly want? The answer is simple, yet profound. Men want freedom. Not just the freedom to succeed or pursue their goals, but the freedom to be their full, authentic selves. They want relationships where they can be both strong and vulnerable, ambitious and introspective, protectors and nurturers. If you're finding these insights valuable, don't forget to subscribe to Red Pill Feminina and share this video with someone who could benefit from it. The more we talk about these issues, the closer we get to breaking down the barriers that keep us disconnected. In the next part, we'll tackle one of the most misunderstood aspects of men's desires: their need for purpose and how it intertwines with love and commitment. You won't want to miss this. It's a perspective that could completely change how you approach relationships. Now let's unravel one of the most misunderstood yet fundamental aspects of what men truly want: their need for purpose and how it intertwines with love and commitment. Purpose is often at the core of a man's identity. Many men tie their sense of worth and fulfillment to their ability to contribute meaningfully to their environment, whether that's through their career, personal goals, or family life. But here's where it gets interesting. This deep-seated drive for purpose isn't just about individual achievement. It's intrinsically connected to their relationships. In Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, particularly in the first section, Frankl describes how the human desire for purpose drives resilience and hope, even in the face of unimaginable challenges. While Frankl's work focuses on humanity as a whole, it applies poignantly to men, who are often conditioned to believe their value lies in their ability to do or achieve. In relationships, this translates to a desire to feel needed, not in a transactional sense, but in a way that affirms their contributions are valued and meaningful. So, how does this play out in modern relationships? Consider the following scenario. A man invests long hours into his career, not just for financial gain, but because he believes it will secure a stable future for his loved ones. While his actions may seem detached or overly focused on work, his underlying motivation is connection, ensuring that his partner and family feel safe and provided for. Unfortunately, this dynamic often leads to miscommunication. A partner might feel neglected while the man feels unappreciated for his sacrifices. This disconnect is rooted in one key issue: the lack of open dialogue about purpose and priorities in a relationship. In The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman, Chapter 5 explores how individuals express and interpret love differently. For many men, acts of service or providing may be their way of saying, "I care about you." When this effort goes unnoticed or is misunderstood, it creates frustration and emotional distance. Here's a critical question for you. How often do you and your partner discuss the why behind your actions? Do you take the time to understand the intentions behind each other's choices? Let me know in the comments. I'm curious about how you approach these conversations. Understanding a man's need for purpose also helps explain why they often value a partner who supports, rather than competes with, their goals. This doesn't mean sacrificing your own dreams or ambitions. On the contrary, men are deeply drawn to partners who are confident in their individuality, while still finding ways to align their aspirations with their partners. Take the insights from The Way of the Superior Man by David Deida. In Chapter 11, Deida highlights that a man thrives when his partner inspires him to rise to his highest potential. This doesn't mean placing the entire emotional burden of his growth on the partner's shoulders, but rather creating a dynamic where mutual encouragement becomes the foundation of the relationship. Let's make this practical. Imagine being in a relationship where both partners actively support each other's goals. Instead of competing for time, attention, or validation, you create a shared vision for your future. This isn't about one person leading while the other follows. It's about walking side by side, leveraging each other's strengths. Here's where the red pill critique plays a fascinating role. Traditional red pill ideology often reduces relationships to power dynamics. Who holds dominance, who submits, and who benefits most. But when you dig deeper, you see that true connection isn't about dominance. It's about partnership. Men don't want to control. They want to be understood, valued, and inspired. This perspective shifts everything. Suddenly, it's not about whether someone fits into societal expectations of an ideal partner. It's about whether two people can create a shared sense of purpose, building a life that feels fulfilling for both. If you've followed the conversation so far, you've likely started to see relationships from a new angle. But the journey doesn't end here. In the final part, we'll address the ultimate desire that ties everything together. The one thing men need most to feel fulfilled in love and life. It's the most powerful insight of all, and you won't want to miss it. If this resonates with you, hit that like button, subscribe to Red Pill Feminina, and share this video with someone who could benefit from a fresh perspective on relationships. The next step in this journey is the most important yet. Now let's uncover the ultimate desire that ties everything together. The one thing men truly need to feel fulfilled in love and life. Beyond the layers of purpose, respect, and connection lies something even more profound: the need for peace. This is not the absence of challenges or conflict, but rather the feeling of safety, stability, and acceptance within a relationship. Peace is what allows men to drop their guard, shed societal expectations, and show up as their authentic selves. Think about it. In a world where men are constantly pushed to prove their worth, at work, in social circles, even in relationships, a peaceful partnership becomes a sanctuary. It's the one place where they don't have to compete, perform, or mask their vulnerabilities. In Hold Me Tight by Dr. Sue Johnson, Chapter 6 delves into the concept of safe haven relationships. Johnson explains that emotional security is the foundation of deep connection. Men, like anyone else, need to know that their partner won't judge them for their flaws or failures. They want reassurance that their relationship is a space where they can express fears, hopes, and insecurities without fear of rejection. But here's the catch. Achieving this sense of peace requires effort from both partners. It's not about avoiding conflict altogether, but learning how to navigate disagreements with respect and empathy. In fact, conflict, when approached constructively, can strengthen a relationship by fostering understanding and growth. Let me ask you this. When disagreements arise in your relationships, how do you handle them? Do you approach them with the intention of understanding, or do you find yourself reacting defensively? Reflect on this and share your thoughts in the comments. It's a topic worth exploring. The idea of peace also ties back to the critiques of traditional red pill ideology. The red pill narrative often frames relationships as a zero-sum game, where one partner must always maintain control to avoid being dominated. But this mindset neglects the transformative power of trust and cooperation. True peace in a relationship doesn't come from controlling the dynamics. It comes from mutual respect, shared goals, and emotional safety. Let's ground this in a real-world example. Picture a man who's had a long day, facing challenges at work and pressures at home. He steps through the door unsure of what to expect. If his relationship is built on criticism or competition, he may feel tension rise before a word is spoken. But if his partner greets him with kindness and understanding, even in the midst of her own struggles, it creates an atmosphere of peace. That moment of connection becomes a small but powerful act of healing. This doesn't mean one partner should always be the peacekeeper. Instead, it's about creating a dynamic where both individuals contribute to the relationship's harmony. In Loving What Is by Byron Katie, Chapter 3 explores how shifting our perspective on conflict can transform relationships. Katie emphasizes that peace begins within, and when both partners commit to self-awareness, They create a ripple effect that benefits the relationship as a whole. So what's the takeaway here? Men don't just want respect, purpose, or connection. They want a partner who helps them find peace in a chaotic world. This peace allows them to be vulnerable, to grow, and to love without fear. It's the foundation upon which everything else is built. If you've stayed with me until now, it's clear you're deeply invested in understanding relationships on a transformative level. Drop a comment below with your thoughts. What does peace mean to you in the context of love and connection? Before we wrap up, remember that this journey isn't about blaming one gender or idealizing another. It's about breaking down the walls that keep us from truly understanding each other. When we challenge outdated narratives and embrace deeper truths, we unlock the potential for relationships that are not just functional, but deeply fulfilling. If this video has resonated with you, subscribe to Red Pill Feminina for more insights on relationships, self-growth, and emotional intelligence. Don't forget to like, comment, and share, because these conversations are the first step toward meaningful change. And before you go, check out the videos linked on your screen. One dives deeper into how women can cultivate emotional intelligence in relationships, and the other explores the hidden strengths of vulnerability in men. Both are essential if you're ready to take your understanding to the next level. Thank you for watching. Together, let's continue to redefine what it means to connect, love, and thrive.